The best part about the Ryder Cup is the Americans tearing themselves apart afterwards. It's like they don't care about it enough to get really into it, and then when they get hammered, they absolutely despise each other.
Yeah, tearing themselves apart. As soon as anybody mentions the idea of tearing themselves apart, the only thing I can think of is Tommy Wiseau in the room. It's like, you're tearing me apart, Dustin, or whatever Brooks Koepka said to him. Yeah, thanks for triggering that. They have this is always the best part. They say they don't care about it, and then they lose. And they get into fights with one another, and they clearly do care about it. Yeah,
so I was like, we thought Patrick Reed fighting with Jordan Spieth and potentially some involvement of Jim Furyk in the middle of all that was going to be the main story. But actually, it turned out that there was a piss-up for the Europeans who were like, oh, come on into the losers. They invited Dustin Johnson and not Dustin Johnson.
Yeah, Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And apparently, I didn't know about this, but apparently there is some former beef between Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka, where Dustin Johnson's wife, who is, of course, Wayne Gretzky's daughter, deleted all photos of Brooks Koepka from her Instagram account, which, of course, in the year 2018 is as big a slight as insulting somebody's family, really. So Brooks Koepka became absent from Dustin Johnson's wife's Instagram account, so people were like, well, what's going on here? And then suddenly the two lads came to blows on Sunday night, it seems.
They had to be separated by some burly Europeans. The reason for the bust-up was not known, reports James Corrigan, which is carried in the back of the Irish Independent this morning. But a huge surprise, as they're regarded as best friends.
Certainly they've been best friends at some point in their life.
They played together in the foursomes where Rose and Stenson beat them, and they work out at a Florida gym together.
Yeah, the thing is, Brooks Koepka would knock Dustin Johnson out with one punch, you'd imagine, if he isn't too busy admiring himself. Well, I wouldn't...
Say that again, Johnson
Koepka would win that fight.
Oh.
Wouldn't he?
I don't know, I mean, there's a wiry kind of street rat thing that Dustin Johnson has going on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe Brooks Koepka is almost too sculpted to win that fight. It's a real possibility.
Well, I mean, who knows? We might actually get to see it. Okay, so I'll bring you to the newspapers here. That Stars and Gripes is on the front cover of the Indo, and that's an excuse to put Dustin Johnson and his missus on the front. Colm Keys, Horan, well aware that retracing managerial steps is fraught with risk. I think all the more reason to consider what James Horan is doing, particularly brave. Tony Ward, Sexton could become a truly great leader if he drops antics. Ooh. What do you think Johnny Sexton's mind frame is reading Tony Ward telling him to calm down?
What antics is he referring to?
I guess some of the stuff that you might see him talking to the referee about. I know you hate me, but you have to listen to me, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, is that not all part of the game? Is that not all part of the sort of aura around Johnny Sexton? If you can say that sort of stuff, like our other referees looking at the way he speaks. I can't remember who the referee was in question for that one, but his conversation with him, our other referees saying, well, I'm not going to mess with this guy, sort of thing. He clearly is watching very closely what referees do. It's all part of the competitive advantage. I'm not sure what I call it antics.
I wish he wasn't as argumentative as he is with the opposition and match officials in the white heat of battle. The bottom line is, he's a superb tactical leader who is on top of his considerable game in directing operations. Strip away the Owen Farrell antics, and he could well take that leadership to another level. That's really the only reference to antics in the piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's Alan Quinlan's news from yesterday. Leinster could rest Sexton for a Munster clash. 6-day turnaround before the European Opener means Cullen will rotate squad for the Derby, which suddenly means it's not the most important rivalry anymore. In battle, Mourinho claims he's safe despite player woes. Everybody is currently madly briefing. Pogba is briefing. It's him or me. Jose is like, definitely not. I'm not going anywhere because I've got a big fat contract. They're going to have to pay me every single penny. I don't really care. They're the three main stories in the back of the Independent this morning. You don't care. Jose takes a fresh dig at United flops. You know, if you're going down, you're going down swinging. You're bringing everybody down with you.
There's some suggestion that this could be the week that Jose Mourinho might not be manager of Manchester United this time next week. I think that's getting ahead of ourselves a little bit too much. I don't think it's going to happen this week.
Do you think Ryan Fitzpatrick playing really badly for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the weekend pissed the Glazers off, sent them into a rage so profound that they're like, kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him. And it's like Mourinho goes, Fitzmagic is gone. He was named, he'd been dropped last night.
Well, if the Glazers are going to kill anybody, it's going to be Ed Woodward, no?
Ed Woodward makes them a lot of money. You know in Casino, right? You've seen Casino,
yes,
right?
It's like 4 hours long.
Yeah, but like in Casino, there's a bunch of people who betray the mob.
Yeah.
The only one who survives is Jimmy, because Jimmy makes the money. Everybody else, like, They make the money one-offs. And then,
spoiler alert, by the way, for anybody who hasn't seen Casino.
Then they're, I mean, well, it's 25 years old at this
Yeah,
point. So.
you know, it hasn't reached that limit yet.
It's a classic. Blues ready to leave out Sexton for Munster tie is, you know, the old news that we broke yesterday for you on the show. And Bournemouth beat Crystal Palace 2-1 last night. There you go, Bournemouth did beat Crystal Palace. And then there's, how good was that for you, Fleetwood? Molinari, 4 out of 4. Fleetwood, I give you 5 out of 5, Frankie.
Yeah, I'm not sure can we actually bring that video.
This is the video that the lad, we'll give it to you in a second. In bed with the Ryder Cup, Tommy and Frankie's ultimate Mollywood ending. It sounded like they'd been planning this the whole week, the way Rory McIlroy was like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. Unless that was the spark, the creative spark for them too. So you saw this?
The video?
Well, beforehand, McIlroy was like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen tonight between those two. They've fallen for each other hard, basically, he said.
Yeah, that's an interesting development. That's something that we didn't quite see coming. I think that's kind of the unusual nature of it all, that if you had to pick one of the pairings from day one to actually go on to be the most successful pairing for the entire weekend, probably wouldn't have picked Mollywood.
Aaron Ramsey and the Ox out celebrating with Poulter and Justin Rose.
It makes relative sense. I guess Ian Poulter, a good Arsenal man. In fact, in Tiger Woods' PGA Tour 2008 on the Xbox 360, if you played with Ian Poulter, he was actually wearing that maroon Arsenal jersey every time he played. He actually was the only player who wasn't wearing a mundane polo shirt.
When he practiced?
No, when he was on the course. If you picked like Ian Poulter instead of Tiger Woods or Luke Donald, Ian Poulter would actually be wearing an Arsenal jersey.
Ah, right.
Yeah, so there's a useless piece of trivia for you.
I wonder how he managed to sort that out, or did Arsenal pay for the branding or whatever?
Who knows?
That's why you're an Arsenal fan, right, isn't it?
Yeah, Ian Poulter inspired me. Like he's inspired many people to support Arsenal, I presume.
We'll get to that video in a minute. And then the Examiner, the front page is, a chill wind blows. It's Jose Mourinho. Like, training is perfect because he's looking at his watch and one of them is like, time's up. It's like he's pulling up his collar, chill wind blows. No matter what is happening, if you're happy, it's like a happy story coming from training. So the 15 minutes access that you get at the start of training is worth every penny for Getty Images in that case. Sean O'Brien, Leinster will have no special welcome for Carberry. Management material, Paul Kinnerk won't be coaxed from Limerick coaching role just yet. Yeah, I can see why everybody in Limerick wants to just keep it together for a couple of years. They've got a young team who will be bristling with confidence, who won't want for anything when it comes to backroom team. They've just been very impressive. They're going to have the added sense of how easy it is to be champions now that they've come through it. Obviously it wasn't easy, but you know what I mean.
How easy it is to be champions rather than become champions?
Surprise change of tactics works a treat with Ornua. This is racing. The Henry Brownhead trained Ornua registered his third win over fences when landing the Grade 3 Ballymore Irish EBF Novice Chase, the 40 grand feature of Roscommon's final meeting of 2018 yesterday, coming home 3-1.
Yeah, it's like Champions League leading the way in the Irish Times, I think, other than those rugby nuggets from Jerry Thornley.
We can bring you the Francesco Molinari, Tommy Fleetwood Ryder Cup video. Have a look. How good was that for you?
4 out of 4.
Yeah. I'd give you 5 out of 5, Frankie. Tommy Fleetwood is like, this is my one shot here to make loads and loads and loads and loads of money from endorsements. I'm going to do this right. Molinari's a bit like, am I going to regret this? Tommy Fleetwood's going for it. He is like, oh no, Molinari's desperately trying to wake him up to get this over with. Filming this isn't. I agreed to this. I shouldn't have. I had a lot of champagne. He has morning after regret. Tommy Fleetwood's like, I'm going to be famous. I'm going to have cameos in every bad sports movie. Can I get in Space Jam?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, of course, Tommy Fleetwood only scored 4 out of 5 in the Ryder Cup at the weekend. So a little bit of historical inaccuracy there. Of course, Molinari to get 5 out of 5. So you got to work on your jokes. Ryder Cup is all I'm saying. Is that it?
That's it. It's Mourinho, it's Guardiola, it's Champions League stuff from the Irish Times. There's a good piece with Brian O'Driscoll from Gavin Comiskey talking about his new documentary, which is out, I think, this week.
Okay, it is. Yep. Looking forward to watching that. It's speaking about it as well with John Duggan on Friday Night Rugby last week as well. Looking forward to seeing it. It's the political realm of it all is the interesting one, as you can see from the image there in the Irish Times. The back page of the Herald then, there's no rugby really leading the way in the tabloids this morning because it is Jose Mourinho all round. Matic, we back Jose, United at front to end their slump. And you've also got McIlroy calls for Padraig captaincy. That is going to be the big clamour over the next couple of years. You'd suspect that Padraig Harrington does get named as the Ryder Cup captain for Whistling Straits in 2 years' time. The back page of the Sun then, Mad United. Alexis warned, step up or you won't play. And Jose says, no acts fear. Pog says it's him or me. So let's go through some of these stories. So it's Neil Custis with all this information. Jose Mourinho has told Alexis Sanchez he won't play for Manchester United again until his attitude improves. So he didn't even make the bench, of course, for Saturday's 3-1 defeat to West Ham United, but he was brought to London. He was sitting in the stands and forced to watch the loss to West Ham, and he was furious by all accounts. Mourinho had already torn a strip off him before the game. It's been reported, and the Chilean is constantly questioning Jose Mourinho's tactics, according to Custis here. Sanchez has been whinging about how he is being played by United and how Manchester City would have played him. A large section of the United faithful have now grown fed up with his lacklustre displays. They're also angered when he plugged his clothing range on social media the day after they lost to Brighton in August. The backlash was so strong, he took the post down. Paul Pogba then says he is going to quit Manchester United in January unless Jose Mourinho is gone. He's embarrassed at being played in formations and with tactics that none of the team can get to grips to. You've also got on the back of the Sun, Conor won't bury Hatchet by Aidan O'Donoghue. Conor McGregor has told Khabib Nurmagomedov, I'll never be through with you, until maybe at around Saturday night at 4:30 AM Irish time, when one of them has won and the other one's got a defeat and a massive payday and they're all friends again. But he'll never be through with Khabib Nurmagomedov by all accounts. So that is, I presume that's quotes coming from his interview with Ariel Helwani on ESPN last night. He was also did an interview with the Mac Life over the course of the weekend as well. So he's starting to ramp up a little bit more of the media interviews at this point. But the interesting one from the Mac Life interview is that he really just doesn't like doing interviews. He actually really dislikes the media game, it seems, which isn't something that we're always...
Really?
Yeah, he's like, he equates it to weight cutting. As he says, there's two things that I really dislike about this part of the fight. It's the constant media and it's the horrendous weight cutting. So I really didn't think that he... Of course, there is an element of Conor McGregor that's all up front and stuff and selling a fight in the press conferences. But I thought that kind of came from an enthusiasm for the whole hype factor around it. And doing the interviews and stuff like that, but clearly
he was credible when he was saying it. It didn't seem like something he was just blabbing on about.
No, the Mac Live interview is actually very interesting. It's quite contrite. Like it's a different sort of personality to the McGregor you'd see selling a fight. This was sort of McGregor. Obviously, it's his own production company, so he lets the guard down a little bit. It's an interesting view, and like we did record the interview with Luke Thomas before the Ariel Helwani interview came out, but there's more interesting nuggets in that as well last night. Back page of the Irish Daily Star this morning is Toxic United. Targets put off by tales of unrest from the Red Devil stars. And Fury's rusty, says Bernard O'Neill. Mike Tyson believes that Tyson Fury hasn't fought enough in his comeback ahead of his meeting with Deontay Wilder, and that boxing lacks big personalities. Like, just looking around for that McGregor interview last night, just having to go through ESPN to actually get to it, the thing I noticed was that this Wilder versus Fury fight is right up there as well in terms of the combat sports section of ESPN. Granted, I'm not in that part of the website that often, but I can't imagine any of Anthony Joshua's pre-fight build-ups have actually been carried over there too much, to the point where you do wonder if Tyson Fury is going to become the most notable British heavyweight in the United States.
Well, if he beats Wilder.
If he beats Wilder, I think there's a definite case for that, but I think already...
I think because Joshua fixed the heavyweight division, he will always have credit in the bank. Like beating Klitschko ruined the heavyweight division for Americans, for the Klitschkos, for 10, 12, 14 years, and nobody had any interest in it. And then the fight was so spectacular that like Joshua has that in the bag. That will always be part of his makeup there. I wonder, is part of this to do with the fact that ESPN don't have the UFC rights, that it's Fox who have the rights for UFC? So why the hell would they be promoting somebody else's stuff? ESPN have loads and loads of boxing matches. You kind of feel like this is the sport that we're going to put our time and money and page views into.
They just had Conor McGregor on their ESPN show.
Sure, but like you're saying, you had to wind your way through.
Well, yeah, just on their YouTube channel, it was just kind of noticeable that there was a good bit of that press conference yesterday carried. Yeah, it's true. It's probably.
I'll certainly take Conor McGregor on any of my platforms at any point.
Yeah,
but I'm not necessarily going to like give you a breakdown on why Khabib is better on the mat.
Yeah, that's probably fair. It was just something that stuck out to me. Back page of the Mirror is I'll not get the sack. Struggling Mourinho remains defiant, but bookies disagree and make the United coach favourite to get the boot. And Racing deny move to sign up Murray. So this is John Fallon in Toulouse who's saying Racing 92 have poured cold water on the possible move to sign Conor Murray when his IRFU contract expires after the next World Cup. Now on to a couple of the UK back pages. The Daily Telegraph is leading with "What a shower. Some of my players care more than others. Blasts Mourinho."
Good picture.
What?
Good picture.
Yeah, it is a great picture. And back page of The Guardian is "United divide. Mourinho says some of his players care more than others." The same thing as well. And Donald McRae's got an interview with Bruce Grobbelaar saying, "How many people did I kill? I couldn't tell you." So that's an interesting lead quote there from Bruce Grobbelaar.
One last thing from the papers for me. Kerry closing in on the new senior football manager. We're just 7 days away from an announcement. It seemed last week as if Maurice Fitz was the preferred candidate, but he's just become the principal of Colossian Escalia, so it's unclear whether his workload will allow it. This is the slowest kind of I don't want it, maybe I do want it, I'm not sure I want it race that we've seen. Is there a sense that maybe these next 3 years aren't the 3 years you wanted, it's the 3 years after that?
Well, definitely. Look at the talent there. I mean, they're the best players in the county, or the players who are poised to become the best players in the county are all of a certain age, which says that they are 3 years away from their peak. Like, if you take it in 3 years' time, you're talking about the first minor All-Ireland winning team. So what are we at, 2018? You're talking 2021. You're talking, they will be 25 years old, the eldest of that 5 in a row minor All-Ireland winning bunch. That is the ideal time to take it. So there is no question about it. The next job is still a transitional job. The question is, can Kerry overachieve and take an annex, I think is the correct verb here, 1 All-Ireland in the next 2 seasons? That is the only expectation they would have, or at least go very, very close. The thing is, it's just been rumbling on because the county executive is so late, but I think the idea of these inter-county management jobs have sort of rumbled on a little bit longer than usual this year, is because we haven't had any All-Irelands to talk about. All we've had to talk about over the last couple of weeks is James Horan or Maurice Fitzgerald / Peter Keane, and in Tipperary obviously with Sheedy. So just because we had no actual on the pitch All-Irelands preview.
This week, last year I think was the replay, was it?
Yeah, it would have been like 1st of October.
Yeah.
So it's definitely changed things dramatically. So we're all just kind of waiting, kind of checking our watches, waiting for these things to sort of be announced.
And of course, I completely misspoke earlier on. Fox have lost the UFC, and it is part of ESPN, so it's mad that you had to dig your way through and weren't getting...
Wow, yeah, isn't that curious, sure? Isn't that curious?